your ability to detach, to step back, not to overreact, not to chase. It's doing more than you realize. Because once upon a time, you didn't care deeply. You showed up for people. You gave your energy freely. You believed that if someone was in your life, it meant they were meant to be there for a good reason. You assumed loyalty. You assumed sincerity. You assumed that people moved the way you moved. But over time, you learned something that changed everything. Not everyone who enters your life comes with pure intentions. Some people are strategic. Some people are observant in ways that are not genuine. Some people study your energy, your kindness, your openness, and try to use it. And at first, that realization can hurt because it forces you to confront the gap between who you are and how others operate. You are authentic, but not everyone values authenticity. Some people value control. Some people operate in subtle power dynamics. Whether they admit it or not, they test boundaries, they observe reactions, they measure how much access they have to your emotions. And in that mindset, there is an unspoken rule. The one who cares less has the power. When you started to see that pattern, something in you shifted. You stopped playing the role you didn't even realize you were casting. And because of that shift, you didn't fit anymore. You found yourself in isolation, not necessarily because you wanted to disappear, but because you no longer aligned with what was around you. You were trying to be real in spaces where people were performing, trying to be genuine in environments built on surface level interaction. And yes, that's made you stand out. But it also made you target for confusion, projection, or misunderstanding. So you stepped away. And in that space of isolation, something powerful happened. You grew. Not loud, not visible to everyone, but internal deeply. You started to understand people without needing to overanalyze them. You started to recognize patterns faster. You started to value your energy differently. And without even realizing it, you mastered something most people struggle with: detachment. Now let's be clear. Detachment is not indifference. You still feel, you still care, you still have depth, but you no longer lose yourself in other people's behavior. You no longer chase clarity for people who create confusion. You no longer fight to keep connections that don't feel right. You observe and then you choose your distance. And that changes everything. Because people who are used to control, used to reactions, used to emotion access, they don't know what to do when you don't respond the way they expect. They try something small, you don't react. They try to get your attention, you don't chase. They shift their behavior, you step back instead of learning it. And suddenly, they feel out of control. Not because you are doing anything aggressive, but because you are no longer predictable. You are no longer emotionally available to manipulation. And that creates discomfort for them. Now, here's where you need to stay grounded. It's not that people are losing their minds because of you. It's that your boundaries and your calm, steady responses disrupt patterns they are used to. People tend to repeat behaviors that have worked for them before. When those behaviors stop working, they either adjust or they become frustrated. And if they don't have the self-awareness to adjust in a healthy way, that frustration show up in subtle ways. Confusion, mixed signals, trying harder to get a reaction, pulling you into unnecessary dynamics. But you have reached a point where you see it early, and instead of engaging, you detach. You don't chase, you don't argue, you don't try to win. You simply step back. And that's what makes your energy feel different now, because you're no longer participating in a cycle that drains you. Now here's something important. You didn't choose to play these games. You would actually prefer a world where people are just honest, direct, and genuine, where connections don't come with hidden dynamics, where people say what they mean and mean what they say. So when you notice inauthentic behavior. It doesn't excite you. It repels you. You don't feel challenged. You feel uninterested. You don't feel drawn in. You feel the need to create distance. And sometimes that makes you question everything. You might think, is it just me? Why do I keep encountering this? Why does it feel like people change after a while? But here's a grounded perspective. When you are someone who is very open and genuine, you tend to see people clear over time. At first, people show their best side. That's normal. It's human nature. But as time passes, consistency or inconsistency reveals itself. And because you are observant now, you notice that shift. Not everyone is fake or against you, but not everyone is aligned with you either. And your awareness allows you to make that distinction. Now let's talk about something deeper. You have what could be called polarizing presence. People tend to have strong reactions to you. Some feel deep comfortable with you. Some feel unsettled. Some admire your energy. Some misunderstand it. And that's not because you are doing anything extreme. It's because authenticity, clarity, and emotional indifference can feel unfamiliar to people who are used to different dynamics. Even people who like you may struggle with that, because if someone is used to conditional relationship where attention, validation, or control plays a role, your detachment can feel confusing to them. They might think, why aren't they reacting? Why aren't they chasing? Why do they seem okay either way? And that can trigger insecurity in others. Not because you are wrong, but because you're operating from different places. So over time, you have strengthened your detachment even more, not out of bitterness, but out of understanding. You have realized that trying to over-explain yourself, fix every situation, or understand every person's behavior only drains your energy, and it keeps you stuck in cycles that don't serve you. So now you choose differently. You let people be who they are, and you decide whether you engage. You don't chase clarity, you wait for consistency. You don't force connection, you allow alignment. You don't fight for space, you move where it's natural. And that's growth, that's maturity, that's self-awareness. So if it feels like your energy is too much for some people, or like you don't fit into certain spaces anymore, that's not a loss, that's direction. You are no longer available for dynamics that require you to overextend yourself. You are no longer willing to trade your peace for temporary connection. And yes, sometimes that means being alone more than you used to. But that is solitude. It's not emptiness. It's clarity. It's space to build a life that actually aligns with who you are now. So don't question your detachment. Don't feel guilty for stepping back. Don't force yourself to engage just to keep things comfortable for others, because what you have developed is not coldness, it's discernment, and that's what protects your peace moving forward.